Let's talk about what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys. And that's not just because people are interested in it because they're the Dallas Cowboys. This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations and a roster that can win the Super Bowl. There's just no question about it.
No.
They have a quarterback that can win the Super Bowl. They've got a pass rusher that can win the Super Bowl. They've got the weaponry with CeeDee Lamb. I don't know what's going on with the running back position. I don't know what the hell has been going on. What has been going on there? Are they capped out because they've put money in all of the players that they've drafted well enough to keep? I don't know why they didn't supplement their roster any better than they did, or with bold-faced names that were available.
Let's start with the fact that Dak's on the books cap-wise for like $60 million this year. They could
do something about that?
They absolutely could reduce it by doing a new contract with them.
But why not?
They have taken an organizational philosophy, it certainly appears, to kick the can down the road on all decisions right now. Because they've been doing this for years.
Okay.
If you look at the number of free agents that left in this offseason, some of your core players, like their center Tyler Biadasz, who goes to a division rival in Washington, follows Dan Quinn. That's the type of guy that a lot of teams would proactively do the deal a year before free agency, lock him up. He's been huge for Dak. He's a really good player, and he's going to get paid a boatload. Instead, they wait, and sure enough, somebody's willing to pay him a lot more. I mean, right now, I can't think of another situation in recent NFL history where a team goes into the regular season, forget CeeDee Lamb for a second, with their head coach and their quarterback both in contract years. And you can't tag Dak because it would technically be a third tag because they had to tag him a second time to buy themselves time for the paperwork on the extension a few years ago.
Right.
So you can't tag him the third time because it'd be like $80 million. So Dak is he's in the position Kirk Cousins was a year ago, where he's going to be a true unrestricted free agent. Mike McCarthy, you could end up winning the Super Bowl, and Mike would be available to go to any other team. And then you've got, obviously, CeeDee Lamb. You've got Micah Parsons. These are, again, deals. You've seen Miami be proactive doing deals. You've seen Philadelphia getting ahead of the game. But Dallas's philosophy has been, we don't need to do something now, so we will wait. And it's burned them in a lot of different cases. I mean, they tagged Tony Pollard. He played on the tag last year. He didn't have the best year, but he was coming off a pretty severe injury, and then he walks in free agency. He lost a couple of your pass rushers. The left tackle, that was probably time on that. They were willing to move on from that, but that's another important part of your team. Yeah, it's puzzling, I would say that. I've heard really good feedback on the rookie class, how good they think this group has a chance to be, and they're going to need them to be really good because they're all going to have to play.
Well, that's the whole idea of a team that has Super Bowl aspirations and had a terrific season last year, regular season last year, that the reaction to being one and done in Green Bay is we're just going to freeze it. We're going to freeze it. We're going to go draft as well as we possibly can, and we're going to let everybody around here know that if you want to stay here, you have to win here this year. And I understand that puts the lid on a boiling pot potentially, and that it can actually work and it can hit, but it's a very expensive way of doing business that can also backfire on the way somebody handles that pressure, or it can backfire on the way of, even in ultimate success, you put the trophy in the case, and obviously that's the whole idea. But now everyone's going to want even more, and other people are going to be on top of their contracts at other spots. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's going to have to get paid.
Right.
We know Micah Parsons is going to have to get paid. Dak is more of an ish situation, I guess, because the quarterback might be, in their estimation, the reason why they're not getting to the NFC Championship game. And if they're willing to reset and go back into the free agent market with somebody completely different, or reset and go into the draft and get somebody, that's a risky play as well. Or you go and you redo the deals for everybody in a timely fashion, so it's not going to be as expensive as it is to wait. And then you now might be able to reconfigure your cap to go get Derrick Henry and take some of the pressure off your quarterback, or go out and get fill in the blank other defensive pass rusher.
Right.
I'll just throw it out again. I mean, Danielle Hunter's in the state right now, just not for them.
Right.
I'm just throwing names who are available that you could then bring in. If you want to go all in 1 year, go for it. You had the team that did as well as it did in last year's regular season. I feel like I'm a broken record on this subject matter here.
Well, because nothing's happened. We have to keep having the same conversation because they still haven't done anything. They signed Eric Kendricks after he got cut by the Chargers. They brought back Zeke. They signed Royce Freeman. And then they had the draft. And that's the extent of the moves that they've made in this offseason. I would say this. I mean, this is not the first time Jerry has had a head coach in the final year of his deal. Jason Garrett did it too. I think that, you've got a head coach that was won 12 games last 3 years. Obviously, brutal in the playoff game. They just weren't ready to go. For one reason or another, it was a disaster from the start in that game against Green Bay. But Mike's a really good and highly accomplished coach who now has so much pressure on his shoulders, not just because of his contract situation, but because you're basically saying, hey, we didn't bring in anybody veteran-wise to help other than, again, Kendricks, who knows Mike Zimmer's defense. They made the defensive coordinator switch because Dan Quinn moves to Washington. They bring in Zim, who's very established. But everybody's on, the last year of their contracts. And, oh, yeah, you're going to have to play all these young guys. That's a lot on people's shoulders all at the same time. We'll see exactly how that hits. I don't get the sense that Mike McCarthy is, upset about anything in terms of, why aren't they just, redoing the deal now? I would say this is the situation that you're in. Let's go kick everybody's ass and then we'll all get paid.
Well, he sounded more irked, for the lack of a better phrase. I don't know how to interpret this. This is Micah Parsons not appearing at the voluntary activity. This Mike McCarthy on that subject matter on Thursday.
Well, I think anytime you have a chance to to be together, it's an opportunity to improve, whether it's in the mental realm, the physical realm, which is limited obviously this time of year, but in the emotional connection and so forth. So, but it's a long year. Training camp is really the heightened focus for all that. But yeah, it's definitely an opportunity that's been missed.
First of all, I would want one of those cups here. That looks pretty sweet. You see that star cup? Wouldn't you want one of those cups on your table right there, TJ?
I'm surprised I don't have one yet.
I know. So the Rich Eisen Show mug will have to suffice. But in all seriousness, though, I don't know what to make of the not here in May situations here.
Remember,
but these are the questions that come if you don't sign somebody when you know you're going to have to.
Mike has never really been around, though, in the offseason.
Okay.
So for Mike McCarthy,
at least not there. He's certainly going to Mavericks games. We saw that.
He is. He's around.
Yeah, I know.
We've seen him and Trey Diggs and everybody courtside.
Right.
No, he's in the area. He's training there. He does boxing. He does all kinds of other stuff.
I don't think he's letting himself go.
He comes and goes. He'll be there for minicamp.
Right.
When Mike McCarthy got to Green Bay, one of his big pushes was to get everybody in the program, including Brett Favre, who this was when Brett would disappear to Hattiesburg for 6 months. We talk about, the potential revised offseason. Brett was doing this a long time ago. He didn't show up for anything, and Mike got him by the second year to at least show up for some of the OTAs. And so they had 100% attendance a lot of years, and he talked Brett into it, even though these are voluntary, like, hey, it would really help out this really young team if you can come in and give us some days. And so anytime that somebody's not there, Mike's going to believe, yeah, this is a missed opportunity. But the drill is pretty well established with Micah Parsons. This is kind of how he goes about it. CeeDee's not there. That is directly contract related. And so we'll see whether or not he shows up next week for the mandatory minicamp. But these are, the Cowboys always have a unique spotlight on them. That goes without saying. But this year in particular, because of the number of massive storylines,
yes,
every game is going to feel like this is some type of a tipping point, even though it's not fair to judge a team off one game.
Okay. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.